Hello, everyone. Steve Parr here, the director of Gwinnett Metro Baptist Network. Glad to see you. This is a very, very brief webinar for me to introduce you to what I call Accelerate Groups coming in 2021. And so before we talk about the dynamics of that group, I want you to know the pastor I have invited and asked him, and man, he's graciously committed to be involved with us. I cannot believe this. His name is Joel Sutherland. He pastors currently Peavine Baptist Church up in northwestern Rock Spring, Georgia. If you know where that's northwest corner, his church is absolutely phenomenal. Joel, how you doing today, brother?
Hey, great, Steve. Thanks for having me on. Excited about it.
Hey, I want to tell these guys how you and I got to know each other. Of course, from my time at the mission board, and we knew each other, but what really bonded you and I together, Joel, you may remember it's probably been 12 years ago or so. You were pastoring there in Dalton, Georgia, and you know how I love research. I did a little research project. And I identified the churches in Georgia that had grown 2% per year or more, which is not a high threshold, but they had done it for 5 years consecutively without fail. In other words, minimum 2%, 2%, 2% for 5+ years. Had no idea, Joel, how many churches would fit that category. But out of 3,600 churches in Georgia, if I remember correctly, I'm only off by one if I'm off, only 7 churches fit that profile. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was a really low number, Steve. And when you told me I was one of those churches, I would have guessed there were hundreds that made that. I mean, I think you even asked me before you told me, or something. And I didn't know. I just assumed 1,000, 800 or something. And because 2% seems like a low threshold.
It does. And we understand the larger the church, the 2% is a harder number to reach. But at the same time, that is a low threshold. But it just tells you, Joel, and you and I have talked about this, how hard it is to sustain growth. I mean, any of us can have a surge of growth. But one thing I like about you, and I've observed about you, is that you have proven that you know how to not just have a surge of growth, but how to sustain it over time. And now you've done that now at Peavine Baptist. And so for our audience, Joel, I invited him to serve alongside me. So we worked together in ministry. And then I was elevated to a new position. He filled the position I had, leading evangelism here in Georgia. But anyway, we become friends because of that, within that, working together. And Joel, I just love you, love your family, and glad we're going to be doing this together again, brother.
Awesome. Same, Steve. Love it.
Well, here's what we're going to do, pastors. We want to have some groups beginning in January called Accelerate Groups. And by accelerate, I mean accelerating your leadership. No matter who you are, you need to grow. I think of Tiger Woods, one of the greatest golfers in the world. Of course, he's probably past his prime. But even today, he has something. Tiger Woods has a coach. And you think Tiger Woods doesn't need a coach? Yes, he does. Guess what? Michael Jordan, LeBron James, they have a coach. Tom Brady has a coach. You can name, again, the most outstanding musicians, athletes. One thing they have in common, they have a coach. I've invited Joel Sutherland, and he's agreed to coach you for about 5 or 6 months, and I'm excited about that. And because of his experience, and Joel, I know you would not boast, so I'm going to bring it up. Share with our pastors about what Outreach Magazine has done in the last couple of years and how your church fits into what Outreach Magazine did.
Yeah, it was interesting, Steve. I was the interim here for about 8 or 9 months, and then became the pastor in January 2017. But anyway, that year we became the 52nd fastest growing church in America, and they actually invited me to Colorado to speak at their annual event of the fastest growing churches and the pastors who came to it. And so real privileged to do that. And that's kind of been our track record since then. I mean, since day one, every year's been larger than the next year. 2018, we were one of the, because, I work at NAM some, and I can run stats there. And I ran a list of what I would have called the most evangelistically effective churches in the U.S. There were only about 18 on the list, and Peavine was on the list. I wasn't expecting us to be on the list, but God's really done some amazing things. And when we rolled into this year, we were having the largest year in the history of our church again, which has happened every January, pre-COVID, So God's really blessed. We're thankful.
And we understand that COVID's affected everybody as far as that goes. And Joel, one thing I like about you, you're very creative, and you and I share a strategic mindset. And that's one reason we've always worked very well together. And I do recall when I was the interim pastor here in Gwinnett County Hebron Baptist Church, I took one of your ideas and implemented it. And we saw a response of about 80 people in one day because of, and Pastor said, what is that? Well, check with me and I'll tell you, or maybe Joel and I will talk about it. But we surveyed our congregation with something. It was so cool. So you and I, we really iron sharpens iron, and we help one another. I just love the way you think. And I want to say to our pastors, Joel also has some macro leadership experience working at the Georgia Baptist Mission Board, North American Mission Board, working nationally, and now again serving as a pastor. But I want to say this, he knows how to work with every size church. So you may be thinking, what can he teach me? I'm from a smaller congregation. We only have maybe a couple dozen people. Well, Joel is very principle driven. And so he is going to share big ideas, but we're also going to do our best we can to show you how to put them right where you are. So here's what we're going to do, men. We're going to have accelerate groups once a month, once in January. I'll give you the dates in a moment. January, once in February, March, April, and May. So 5 times in 5 months. I think on my recent par 4, I said he devoted an hour. Really, we've got about 90 minutes per session set aside. And we're going to do an afternoon session and an evening session. So if you're a bivocational pastor, we can get you in on this also. And so the afternoon session will be like around, I think I got it, let's see here, at 1:30 p.m. And the evening session will be at 6 o'clock p.m. Just so you know, 1:30 for the afternoon, 6:30 for the evening session if you're bivocational. Now, how do you get in these groups? Well, you got to let me know and you got to sign up, of course. And we're only going to have 12 people per group. You say, well, why? Because we want this to be coaching. And if we have 30 or 40 people in the room, we won't be able to have that much interaction. You say, Steve, what if more people sign up? Well, if we're 1 or 2 over, maybe we can squeeze somebody in, or we might be able to start another group. I'm not sure. Maybe another time. I'm just telling you, I cannot guarantee beyond 24 people that you'll be in the group this time, although we'll do it again if there's that high a demand. I said that to say this, do not hesitate if you're interested in this by emailing me, steve@gmba.org, and get on the list. I already have 4 pastors on the list, and this webinar has not gone out yet, so we're just getting started. Now, advertising for the first time about 4 days ago. So now I do want to say this also. One of my pastors has graciously offered to provide funding for 5 pastors who are either bivocational or in small churches to do this. You say, well, what do you mean funding? Well, we're going to ask you to be in these groups to pay $50 as a registration fee. Now, here's the good news. If you attend all 5 sessions, you get that refunded totally. You say, well, Steve, why are you asking for $50? Between me and you, we've got the budget. It's not that we need the $50. What we need to know is that you are committed. And this lets me know that you're going to be there as many sessions as you can be. And to be honest with you, yes, it will help budget-wide also to take care of Joel. And we want to give him a nice gift to come down and be with us each of those months and cover his expenses, of course. So we're going to have a 1:30 group with 12 people, a 6:30 group with 12 people, $50. Although we've got scholarships available, first come, first serve. Again, email me. And when you email me, tell me you're interested in that scholarship. And so this will be a great time of Joel instructing, us interacting, him coaching, you asking questions. And here's what I can promise you. When you get finished, you are going to be a stronger pastor. Now, you may be watching this, you're a pastor of a larger church. I want to say again, every pastor needs a coach. Even the best of our pastors can be a better pastor. We can all grow. We can all be stronger. And not only what Joel has to offer, but what you have to offer personally, because you do something well. And when you're in this group, you'll be able to share with others. Now, Joel, let's talk about for a second, what kind of things could they expect in terms of your teaching, how you want to do this, what a session might be like. And you might even give an idea of what you're thinking about topic-wise for some of these sessions. What do you think?
Yeah, Steve, because I like what you said, coaching. I think every pastor benefits from coaching when it comes to ministry. If we're not careful, we get in our own little bubble. And we start to say things like, well, my context is unique or my church is unique. But as you and I know, in what we've done, at a macro level, there are principles, and I like to call them evergreen principles is what I'm trying to get to. They're principles that apply. And we'll culturalize those, but contextually, hopefully the principles will apply to each. And I expect us to have some really good hands-on time. Like, here's some things I'm teaching, but as a group, how are we applying that in each and every situation? And I love getting down in the nitty-gritty as much as we can with a small group and in that coaching level. So I anticipate, obviously, I'll be spending some time doing the coaching, but then I expect us to get down at a real granular level of, hey, here's what we're working with, and here's what I'm dealing with, and how would you apply that in that situation? And so I'm really excited about that.
That's great. And you will lead the way, but I will be there.
Yep.
And I may weigh in occasionally, but I'll be measured in that. But I'll be a part of that group, and I look forward to that. So let me tell you the dates, pastors, if you want to write these down real quick, or you can email me and I'll give these to you. That way, go ahead and get them on your calendar if you're interested in this. January 21st, February the 11th, March the 18th, April the 29th, and May the 20th. Those are all Thursdays because that tends to be the best day. Monday's the day after your services. Tuesdays, if you have a staff, tend to have staff meetings. Wednesday, getting preparations for your Wednesday night. So Thursdays tend to be a good day before we get into the weekend. I'll say those one more time. January 21st, February the 11th, March the 18th, April the 29th, May the 20th. And we are looking forward to those dates. Now, let me tell you this too, guys. I think it'd be worth it just for the fellowship. When you meet together 5 times like that for an hour and a half, and maybe 2 hours by the time you arrive, time you leave, you get that 10 hours of those other pastors, your relationships are going to be strengthened within this network with some other pastors that you can let iron sharpen iron, as the scripture says, throughout time, much less what you will glean from Joel. Joel, I can't tell you, man, how much I appreciate you, how much I appreciate you making this commitment to our pastors and spending these days with us. Because Joel will be here pretty much all day those days. But he has some relationships in the area. He's going to tap into those. And we're going to do some other things in the afternoon that he and I have been talking about. But anyway, pastors, email me right now, steve@gmba.org. You don't need to pay anything now. Just get your name on the list. I'll talk to you more later about getting us the fees and so forth. If you're interested in the scholarship, just note that you're interested in that. Again, no wrong size church. Now, if you are a Korean pastor, if you are a Hispanic pastor, and you are getting this through a translation, or you say, Steve, I don't speak English fluently, could I get translation? Yes. If you are a Spanish pastor, Korean pastor, I will be sure we have translation for you so that you can participate. So any pastors eligible, if you are in our network, you've got to be under Watch Care or a member of our network, and you got to be first in line on that list. So do not hesitate. You go ahead and let me know. And I'm looking forward to the time with you also. Well, Joel, our time's up for this webinar. Any final words you want to share with our pastors?
Steve, real quickly, I don't think we even mentioned topics. I think we started to. And
yeah, thanks, Joel.
A couple of the things just as we're going out, we're talking about preaching, which I know preaching is kind of sacrosanct, for a lot of guys, but it's where they need help and want to ask it the least, me included. We're all kind of that way. Evangelism, and one of the things Steve specifically asked me to do is, I literally draw on a whiteboard how to increase evangelism, baptisms in your church. Like it's a process we use here at our church. Leadership development, attractional strategies in this age, and just those kind of things. I think everything we're going to pour into Pastor Steve is going to be that kind of thing that the next Monday they put things into practice that'll help their church immediately. These are things I can implement tomorrow or, next week that are immediately going to go into practice. So look forward to it.
Good. Thank you for sharing that one. I've been texting that a while ago as we even previewed this. And I will just say this, pastors, here's our whole motivation here. We want your church to grow. And by grow, what I mean is this. We want you to be blessed to see more people come to faith in Christ. And that's what the gospel is all about. It's what the Great Commission is all about. And as that happens, we see more people come to our worship and to our Bible study. And so I think we would all like to see more people in our community, in our neighborhoods, come to faith in Christ. I know that's Joel's heart. And so that's what we mean when we talk about these topics. How can we be more effective in all those areas, no matter what size church you might serve? I am looking forward to it. Joel, thank you so much. And I can't wait to get together in 2021 over the course of January through May and just see what God does, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, y'all be blessed. I'm going to sign this off, and I hope you'll share it with other pastors. And I will send out an email when these groups are filled. I hope they will be real soon. Anyway, God bless, and you take care.